Good morning, evening, afternoon, whenever it is that you're watching us. So, this is week 2 at LAMDA, day 5. So, Friday. Friday, what was the date on Friday? 19th. Okay, I'm going to try to be a little more concise. I've received some feedback that I babble on, and I take a bajillion hours to say something that I could cover in 15 minutes. So, we'll see what I can do. So starting with our schedule, we had ensemble singing with all 46 of us at 9 a.m. Then we had movement theater at 10 to 11. An ensemble was just 50 minutes, 9 to 9:50. And movement theater from 10 to 12. Then we had our booths at 1 to 3. Then we ended with practical voice with Tamsin, which was 3:30 to 5:30. Yeah, so we basically had 2 hours for each one of our classes, except for ensemble singing, which was only 50 minutes. So in singing, our our teacher, our tutor was James Mikalos, Michaelos, James, and he started breaking it down really basically, kind of just asking like our names and our experience. And he just kind of asked like, "Oh, what is singing? Like, how do you define that?" And we basically broke it down into saying that it's powered by the breath, it's produced by the vocal folds, and it's shaped or filtered by the mouth. Then he talked about how negative pressure is created when speed increase. Think about like a bus that's driving by you, or like the subway, a tube. And when you almost feel sucked into the space it leaves, because it leaves that vacuum, that negative pressure that wants to be filled. And that's what happens with the vocal folds. It goes, and that's how waves happen too. It's trying to establish an equilibrium. And because air and the actual tissue of our vocal folds is elastic, it creates that vacuum and then fills itself in, creating waves. And then some things he said the breath is taken into you. Don't think about taking a breath, but think about allowing it to come in. Don't focus on your diaphragm, focus on the muscles, about getting the muscles out of the way for your diaphragm. Then we did an exercise where we like a librarian to feel our stomach fill and release. We put our hands on our stomach. And he said, don't push, right? The initial attack might be a bit of a push, but don't um, but let it be a release, right? So don't push with your stomach or your abdomen. And then he said, relax your stomach, your tummy area, relax the muscles. And there might be something like traumatic or stressful where we're holding tension. Try to release that, because you need to have a released body to be able to sing as well as you can. Then we did an angry bee sound, a zzz, zh, right? Which brought the vocalization into it. And the voiced sound, right? Shh, that's just air. That's not vocalized. There's no movement going in your vocal cords, right? Shh. The the sound is just here. Shh. It's just air being shaped here, but no vocalization. But when you do bzz, you can feel that and hear it there. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And it creates that resistance in the folds. It's an important thing to say with release that we have independent control of these muscles. The control of these muscles should only do with the breath, right? That's what we have control over, these muscles that help us breathe. He said if you're going to do anything to like work on your voice, do a siren 5 to 10 minutes a day, just gliding through the notes really softly. Just, And you can hear I have those like skips in my voice at 6 in the morning. But also strength in your voice is a range of motions or flexibility. Right? He says to keep the tongue soft and don't let it get involved. And then we did a siren on an NG sound. The he also said start in the like not at your lowest, but like swoop into it. Right? He said that can practice can help bring focus to your muscles and extend and improve your range. Then the position of your voice affects the pitch. We really felt our throats, and if you go lower, you can kind of see my Adam's apple. Mm, right, which is cool. So the higher your voice is, the higher the sound is, and the lower it is, the lower the sound is. Oh, he also said that the field is fraught with divas and charlatans. So if you've ever had um, voice lessons, he's not going to disagree with anything because they might be saying something to get you to respond a certain way, and it's not being totally truthful. And but that's fine, you know. But if you've ever had a voice teacher say that you should hold your larynx, right, this section of your throat in a fixed position, then that's awful advice because it leads to injury. And you want to get the jaw out of the equation. You want to go, right? Because it should be relaxed. We hold a lot of tension in our jaws. So something that you can do is you can set your tongue kind of at the back of your mouth so you can feel if the jaw creates that space, because then you know you're moving your jaw. Think of it as like um this is your hinge, right? It's moving up and down, just like if you're doing curls at the elbow, it moves up and down. So then we mix the nya or goat bleat, the and the twang as it's sometimes referred to. So we did a twangy siren. Try not to do it too loud because it is 6 in the morning. But he said, yeah, sound like Bugs Bunny. And then conducted with pitch. So then he was like, this is higher pitch, this is lower pitch, this is louder, this is softer. And he conducted us for a bit. Oh, and he said this is an ooh and that's an ah. And then he split us in half, and then he did 2 conductions. James really loves this class, and he says he's done it for 20 years. He's been working with actors, and he loves working with actors because they're always trying to find something in it. He worked at Guildhall, which is one of like the 3 big schools, the RADA, LAMDA, Guildhall. And then he said, we are in an ensemble. We want to blend. We want to come off together. We want to land our consonants, especially those S's together. And we want to breathe together. And then we learned a little line of a song or poem. Ah, poor bird, take thy flight for far above the shadow, the sorrow, sorry. Ah, poor bird, take thy flight far above the sorrow of this dark night. And he said that we did it in a repetitive way. And he said it's hard to sound like you mean it when you're saying it uh, when you're saying it out loud like that without sounding like a cult. So we walked around singing individually. Then we noticed each other and we tried to come together. It was very difficult. Um, and then we sang it together, and I can't remember the melody we came up with. Oh, poor bird. Yeah, I don't remember. But we sang it together and it was fun. I enjoyed it. Um, Afterwards, JL asked me to send her all my notes, so I did that later. 70 pages of notes. So, second class, movement theater with Heriberto. We started with our introduction saying why LAMDA, and I learned some great things about people. Also, I, unless I get specific permission from students from this point, I'm not going to mention people by name just to honor their privacy, you know? Um, but yes. So it was just really good getting to know people more. I love how we're doing all these get to know you just questions, and some of them are similar, but there's always something different and something more and deeper that we learn. I learned that a couple other students applied for Juilliard, so that was fascinating. I have to check with them because it sounds like one of them was able to get fairly far in the process. So I want to hear that. Um, but yeah, we took our time with it. I think we spent like 40 minutes on that. But then Heriberto was like, "All right, let's get up, let's start moving." And it's hard to keep notes in movement classes because the focus is on moving, and so I don't have my notebook with me all the time, and I try not to be too um distracted by it. It helps me, but I also want to be present in the moment. So Heriberto was saying how movement is the engine and it will support everything you do. If you have a car but the engine doesn't work, then it's useless, right? We are open-minded now. We need to learn to be open-bodied. Eddie is direct and blunt. He doesn't sugarcoat things, and he doesn't get offended. And he said we have billions of ideas inside of us. We can always use another one if we have a bad one. So throw it out. Who cares? You got a billion more. Eddie is on our side and is on our team. He also says that he's a liar. So make your own opinions, be an individual. And I think partially why he says that is because he wants us to focus on establishing ourselves and our own thoughts and our own um, ideas and to prove it to ourselves, not just to listen to him and take his word for it, but to feel it in our bodies. Because he says how the body doesn't lie. So feel it and learn it in your body. Okay. So finding our answers is better than being given the answer. That's what really makes it stick. And so if he doesn't give us full answers, or if he says he doesn't know or whatever, then that helps us learn better. He also says that books on technique have less than 10% of what you really need. And you need to feel it and understand it. He's like, books are fine, books are stupid. But he's like, no, books aren't stupid. Books on technique are stupid. It's all in the body. Then he was like, okay, let's move. And so we started by walking around. And I don't know what that says. Walked around something. I don't know, but we breathed, we focused on our breath, and we walked around and we tried to stay connected and grounded and in the moment. And then we played a game where we stood up holding arms. So since we have 15 in our class, in our B class, there's always a group of three. And so when we were walking around, we tried to walk around and keep an even flow of space. We didn't want to just walk in a circle, but we wanted to constantly fill the space so that if we froze at any moment, we'd be equidistant from each other. And so then he said, walk by someone who's generally the same height as you. And so then two other guys came and walked by me because since we have 15, there's always a group of three. And then we tried to hold each other's arms and stand up together, and then be able to sit down together and stand up together and focused on the breath. And my little group nailed it. It was awesome. And then we tried to do it with one hand, once again, we did it really well. And then we went back to back and we did it and stood up and sat down and stood up and found that pressure. Then we went back to back to back. And so we were a little triangle and we moved around and and we got used to that movement and no one specifically leading. And then we were put into either an A or a B, and then the B's closed their eyes and the A guided, and then vice versa. And the A's closed their eyes and the B guided. And so, since you don't want two people guiding, I closed my eyes both times, which was great. I felt connected, and the more that we did it, the more I just like sunk into it. It was really good. I enjoyed it. And then we all closed our eyes and moved really slowly to see how far we could go. And we didn't bump into anybody. It was pretty good. My group actually moved pretty quickly. It felt like we were zooming around everyone else. And then what we did is we all separated, closed our eyes, and had to find each other without words. So we looked for our backs, and like you would find someone and you would kind of go back to back and see if they were the right person or not. And if not, that you kind of move on. And we were able to find each other. It was pretty good. And there was one group of two who were just like wandering around looking for each other for a little bit, but it was funny. And yeah, it was a great class. It just really felt like I was in the body and I was connected and it was good. I really enjoyed that. Okay, and then we had lunch, our lunch break. It was good. And then we went to Ollie's class for booths, right? And that's a character improv. And the whole idea, I don't think I introduced this yet. Let me see, I have a piece of paper on it. Okay, so this is a not totally improvised exercise, but the point is there is a booth. It is an audio booth where a person can deposit a coin and make a 2-minute audio recording. The recording is cut onto a vinyl record, which is delivered from a slot in the booth a short time after the recording. The booth is similar to a telephone box in size and shape. It has two doors which can be used to gain entry. There's a microphone behind a grill at head height to record the message. The booth can be anywhere. The exercise. A character enters the booth. This character puts money in the slot. This begins the recording. The character has 2 minutes in total to record a message. The beginning of the a recording is signaled by one tap or like a knock on table. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, the character will hear two taps, 30 seconds left. When the time is up, there will be a series of taps, just continual. The character then leaves the booth and waits for the vinyl with a message cut in onto it to arrive in the slot. The arrival of the vinyl is signaled by one further tap. The character decides whether or not to take the vinyl. So that's a whole exercise. And then some more information, discipline. At the conclusion of the exercise, there will be no audience acknowledgement, no clapping, no whooping, no snapping, nothing or otherwise. The audience will observe in silence. Observing others is as important as participating. The audience won't comment unless invited. I will then ask, I being Ollie, how was that for you? You will reflect on this. For the first and possibly second booth, there will be no direct feedback. For the first two booths, you will decide entirely who the character is and what their circumstances are and who they are contacting. Therefore, thereafter, I may give provocations, nudges, prescriptions about what direction the next booth should go. Be ready to go. Some thoughts. Who is the character? What are their circumstances? Who who are they recording a message for? It should probably be for one person rather than for a group of people, shouldn't it? You probably wouldn't make a vinyl to give to the postman. It's not just an administrative call. Why do they decide to use this particular medium? Why not just call them? Why not leave them a voicemail? Think about what they want. They need to record this message. They need to. I'm declaring upfront that there is little feedback to begin with, not to create mystique or to be opaque. but to put the imaginative and reflective ball in your court. Preparation. You must prepare for this exercise. Turning up and improvising will not yield the intended outcome. It is nonetheless an improvised exercise, but should be practiced. However, beware of scripting the booth and learning it. So that's booths. We will do this Friday every week, every Friday. And so we didn't really know what we were expecting. Let me get my notebook. My booth, um, I did not like well, I wasn't happy. How to say this exactly? I didn't like my booth. I thought I was less prepared than I should have been. I thought I didn't work well with the timing. I messed up. I kind of lost my character a couple times, and it was not the best. But I'm really grateful for what I learned about it. So my idea that my name was Jordan Wilson, and I was talking to my best friend Axel Hunter. Great names, right? Um, my why was it was a memorial of his death. And so I was just started out. Something I did like that I did is I acknowledged people outside of the booth. I wasn't alone. I was with my family. I was like, I'll be there in a second. And then I went into the booth. I just my bullet points were I'm thinking about you. I went to the overlook. I saw Savannah Brown. She's got a kid now. Um, I was remembering the homecoming game of senior year. We were down by a field goal, but you went for it, passed a 70-yard touchdown on the first down, and then that was me trying to I was overcomplicating it. It was me trying to remember it better than it was, but it wasn't because we actually lost 35-3. But then we went on a drive and I was beating myself up, and then he decided he was going to tell his girlfriend Savannah Brown that he loved her, and he kind of helped me get out of it. And and it didn't work very well. That was the first time I'd done it completely vocalized, and I wasn't happy. So while I was doing this, and what I really wanted to do was write down ideas. So I wrote down one, two, 2.5 pages of ideas as I was watching other people's, which I think is good. And I'm really happy about what I learned because I'm going to prepare this one. I've already started a little bit with these ideas, but I'm going to choose one today, which is Monday, the 22nd. Where's the date? Yes, the 22nd. Um, but yeah, so overall, it was good. I'm grateful and happy about the experience. When I got feedback from him, feedback when he asked me how I did, I said I think I didn't do well, or I said I did poorly or something, and he was like, Not bad." I was like, "Okay, well, I learned from it." So he didn't want me to judge it that way, which I'm grateful. Maybe it came off better than I thought. One of the students who's from Wisconsin said that it felt like home, which is nice. I didn't I did a sort of a dialect, but it wasn't specific. It wasn't determined. It was whatever. But there are some talented, cool ideas that were done. Um, Somebody did a a woman um, leaving a message for herself because she's getting Alzheimer's and she's like kind of losing her mind. Someone did a message to a birthday message to their daughter who they were kicked out of the house and don't have contact with. Other people did breakup messages um, and lots of messages to friends and family and yeah, it was cool. Then we had practical voice, our last class of the day, and the tutor's name is Tamsin. Um, she said what it came from. It was short from some literary something. I don't remember. And we just talked about the class a little bit, how we should have our lines and our scripts available so that we can apply the lessons we're learning to them at times. We will learn a warm up and then develop our own. That's kind of like the point of the class. It'll be like a 10-minute warm up that we'll use. We'll bring a yoga book and a yoga mat and a book or a block for alignment. We will overview the class. We'll have 5 minutes at the end of class to, didn't finish writing that, to write any notes slash reflections. Then we got to know each other by asking what did we want for this class. Then we circled up, standing, and said, gave a sound and a gesture of how we were feeling. So just, just something to just get into our bodies and our voices. We made a noise and a movement. We did this 3 separate times. And then we did it with our names, right? Then we got into partners and we said what we liked about our names and a fun fact about them. Um, yeah, I just talked about how my mom worked in elementary school, and so my name um, was she wanted to have unique names for all of us because she had so many students who had the same name and she thought that was boring. Um, and then how it means pure in heart. So that was fun. And then we had a little 5-minute break after we presented our names and our information about each other to everyone. And then uh, after a little 5-minute break, we walked around sighing out loud and getting that vocalization. Then we walked on our toes and then back to full feet. Then we walked on our heels, then back to full feet. Then we walked on the outside of our feet and then back to full feet. Then we walked on the inside of our feet. And I realized how beat up my feet have been. I had so many blisters and so many just like soreness. I got this one Mondo blister, like it's itching right now. But like if this is my foot, my toes are over here. It's like right on that like crease of my foot. It's like right under the callus. Not fun. Then we stood in a circle and we kind of, she's like, visualize and focus on your bones stacking to get that good posture. And then we leaned forward to see how it felt. We leaned back, like right before we lost our balance. And then we discussed about that and how it kind of felt like we were falling, and it created a sense of urgency, a sense of imminent danger and almost anxiety. And then we did this little beach ball exercise where we put our hands out in front of us and we just like thought about the beach ball as we circled it, and we connected our breath with it. I think we're going to do a little more with that because we started running out of time. We took a lot of time with names, which is good. But that was the day. That was the final day of of week 2, a first full week of classes, which we'll be doing for the next 5 weeks. That's what it's going to look like. And I'll keep you guys up to date. Afterwards, I hung out at the school and it was wonderful. I just did some homework and it got really quiet because Friday night everyone leaves to party. And then I met up with some people for Chandler's birthday um, at this pub, and I got some food, which was fun. And it was a party and a half. But all is good, all is well. I feel thoroughly filled and fulfilled from this week. I can't wait to start the next one today. Okay, that's so silly. Anyway, have a wonderful day.